Hello dear learners, I am Rashmi Narula and today we are going to talk about working with emails. In this session, we'll talk about the email addresses, what are the email addresses, how to create a new email address, we'll list all the elements of an email body and we'll see how to send and receive emails, and we'll also talk about using the right email etiquettes during writing an email and sending to somebody, whether a professional email or a personal email. So first of all, what is an email address? As your physical address, when somebody writes you a letter and it gets delivered to your home address, that is your physical address. That is where you can be found and somebody can meet you personally and they can send you postal letters. But on internet, when you have to receive some documents, you have to receive online digital letters, in that case an email address is your identification in the terms of an address, and that is specific to one single user, that belongs to one single user and nobody else can use it. There are different types of email addresses. For an email address, for us to have an email address, we have to reach a email provider. There are different email providers available. Some of them are free of cost and others are paid services for an email. And beyond that, then we have the professional emails. So we'll first talk about the how an email address looks, and then we'll talk about the different parts of an email address. Here we have shown you two sample emails. First one is testuser@gmail.com and another one is contactus@nios.ac.in. So in the first email, as you can see, the email address, the complete this complete thing that is mentioned here is called an email address, which is testuser@gmail.com. Testuser is called the username. @ is required in any email address. @ it allows you to distinguish between the username and the domain. So anything that follows the @ symbol is called the domain. Here gmail.com is the domain. Why it is the domain? We are using Gmail here as a service provider. Gmail is our service provider and we have created this email account on Gmail. So testuser is the login ID. This is what we will be using in future to log in into the account with a password. We will talk about that. And gmail.com is the domain because we have used this particular provider to create the email ID. Second one, as you can see, is contactus@nios.ac.in. Here contact us, similarly it is the username, and nios.ac.in is the domain name. Here we have used NIOS is domain to create this email ID, and this particular ID belongs to somebody who is a part of this organization. NIOS is an organization and not everybody is allowed to create an email on this particular domain. Only the people who have who have all the accountability to have an email on this particular domain can have the emails on this particular domain. These kind of domains are specific to an organization or a company, and a common user, common people cannot create an email account. Even paid services are not available for these type of services. These belongs only to the employees of the company. Only they can have the email IDs on this particular domain. Otherwise, there are several domains available, that we can use as a free user, like gmail.com, yahoo.com, rediff.com. There are different AOL, Microsoft, and then we have the clients on which we can access these emails. Outlook is one of the example that has the domain as well, and it has we have a Microsoft Outlook program also, wherein we can use our email ID to access our day-to-day emails, write emails, respond to emails. So we can use that in Microsoft Office. Any email ID, even if we are creating a Gmail ID, any kind of free AOL ID, Skype ID, all those IDs we can use on the Outlook also. But outlook.com is again another domain which is available to create free email IDs. So how to create a new email address? When we have to create a new email address, there are some of the important things that we have to keep in mind. First of all, we have to choose a right user ID. We can say, for example, my name is Rashmi Narula and I can choose an email that says rashminarula@gmail.com or rashminarula@yahoo.com. So my username would be Rashmi Narula. Again, when we have to create a free email on a particular domain, on a particular email provider which is freely available on the internet, we would have to check whether this domain is available for me or not. As I have said, one email ID is restricted for one single user to use. If I have already created some user ID, you cannot again create the same user ID because that is already in use and that is assigned for me to receive and send emails. Then we have to set a strong password. Generally, the password policy that is followed across the internet by the different websites is to have at least 8 characters in the password and have a mix of numbers and letters. Sometimes you have to have the capital letters also, and there are some particular special characters allowed. That varies from website to website. Some of these allows some of these allow different special characters like asterisk, dollar, underscore, and some others allow different special characters. So you might have to check with the website that you are registering for that which kind of special characters are allowed here, and you should have a mix of all these things to create a strong password so that nobody else is able to crack your password and nobody else is able to access your emails. Then while registering, the service provider would also like to ask us some questions. Those are required when we have to recall our password. Sometimes it happens that we forget our password and we have to remember it. We have not written it anywhere and we have to go to the service provider and then we click the link that we have forgotten our password and now we want to reset it. So they will ask us some security questions. So those questions also we have to mention at the time of registration. Like, if I forget my password in future, then what would be the question that you will be asking me and what would be the answer that. So what we shall do is we should try to keep an answer, a question, simple question which we easily remember all the times. And the best practice anyway is to store your email ID and your password somewhere at a secure place that only you are able to access and nobody else does. So there, if you store, in case you have forgotten your password, you can easily go back and refer your database, your own in your mobile or in your computer system where you have kept it safely. You can refer to that and then you can easily recall it. And if you have not done so, then this question that you have to mention at the time of registration, that should be easy enough that you should always remember. For example, and not that easy that everybody else knows about you. For example, some websites have the predefined templates of these security questions, others do not, and they also allow you to have your own security question. So in security question, if you have entered that what is my name, so you can you can think that okay, when I forgot my password, I'll at least come back and put my name to remember my password. But somebody else also can do this. So you should put a question only you know the answer to, and other people like your friend circle and anybody you don't want to access your email, those people should not know the answer to this security question. Let's see the process of creating a user account on Gmail. For example, let's start with the Gmail. That is the most commonly used service provider for email nowadays. Otherwise, as I told you, we can create free accounts on different domains like Yahoo, Rediff, Outlook. Those are available. But for now, let us see how to create a Gmail account, a Gmail email address. So let's continue with the demo of creating an email account on Gmail. When we open gmail.com in our browser, this is the first screen that we'll see. First of all, let's click on create an account. When we click on creating an account, this is the page that we'll be able to see. Let's assume that we have to create an email account for the user whose name is test user. So these are some of the fields that we have to enter. We have to mention this information when we have to create a new email account, and this is irrespective of the provider that we are using. So let's say my first name is test and last name is user, and I want to create a login ID, an email ID for test user, and the username that I want to choose is test user. Now some of the email providers let us know on this page only, as soon as we enter the username that we are willing to have, they would let us know whether this username is available on this particular domain or not. As in terms of availability, as I told you that one account is limited to one particular user, so I will not be able to create this email ID with this particular username if this email ID already exists. So as soon as we enter this username, some of the providers would let us know whether this username is available on this particular domain or not, and otherwise when we try to create this, some other providers would let us know on the next page that this username is already existing and we have to choose some other username. This is because if an username is already created on this particular domain, that email ID is already assigned to somebody else and I will not be able to use this particular email ID. Now suppose I have entered the username as testuser@gmail.com, and as for the password, as I told you, there is a security associated with the password field and we have to choose a password very carefully. So as you can see, Gmail also has mentioned that use 8 or more characters with a mix of letters, numbers and symbols. So we have to have at least 8 letters and those should be a combination of letters and numbers. So let's say my password is test user 123. Now this password is very easy to guess because it is very much related to the username that we are going to create and the name initials that we have put. So my name also that I have put is test user and the password also that I have put is test user. It is not really advised to use this kind of password. Use a combination of different letters and numbers. Then you have to enter the same password that you have mentioned in that field to confirm the password. Any password field on any website would not let you see the characters because somebody, if somebody is standing next to you, they can see your password. So it is always throughout the internet, you will see if you use any website, nobody will allow you to look the characters that you enter in a password field. So now that we have chosen the first name, last name, username and the password, let's see, click on next and let's see what happens. So I have made a mistake while mentioning the second entry of my password. Let's see what I have entered previously. Let's try to match both the passwords and then see what happens. Right, so as you can see, Gmail now tells us that username is taken. Try another. Test user already belongs to somebody and somebody is already using this email, and that is why Gmail would not allow us to use the same email ID. Let's try a combination of names, letters with the numbers. Let's say we are going to create test user 90987 and now let's see what happens. So this is the next screen that we see. The next step is that Google is wanting us to verify our phone number in order to make sure that this is a person using an email address and not some robot or computer. So we will put the mobile number here and then we'll click on the next button. On this screen, Google will ask us to enter the verification code that Google has sent us on our registered mobile number that we have just entered. Let's try to enter the verification code that we have received. So now that we have put the verification code that we have received, let's click on verify and go to the next screen. Now Google would ask us to enter another email option if we want to associate with this particular email account. This would be the recovery email address. As I told you, in case we forget our password or some information, then we can easily mention the other email for which we remember the password, and this field is optional. If we do not enter this field, then Google will ask us a security question, as I told you. Now it will ask us the date of birth, which will include date, month and year, and your gender. This information, most of it would be optional. As you can see in the recovery email address, it is mentioned as optional. Now for date of birth, let's say I would enter 1st Jan, and I would be required to, be at least 18 years or older to use any kind of email address or the social media accounts. Email addresses especially would not have strictly this kind of restrictions. We can create an email address, but it is advised to do this, while your majors know that you are doing, and use it under their supervision. Then we can enter date of birth. Then gender. It is optional to mention your gender. You can either specify, or you can say that I do not want to mention my gender, and then you can. Here I have just put a dummy date of birth, but we have to make sure that we put our real date of birth in order to remember what we have entered. Suppose we forget our password some other day, so we would be using all this information in order to access our Gmail account again. So make sure you enter your correct date of birth and correct details when you are going to create a Gmail account. Click on next and go to the next screen. Now, as we have mentioned our number, Google is suggesting us to avail the different services. Those are related to the mobile number. Let's skip, as we are not interested in these services at the moment. Then the service provider would ask us to agree with the terms and conditions of the provider. These are some really important terms of using an email address, and we should thoroughly go through them and understand like what all things are we allowed to do while using an email address, and what things are restricted while using an email address. If we have to create this email address, we have to understand and accept all these terms and conditions, and then click on I agree and go to the next screen. If your Gmail account is successfully created, this screen would be shown to you. That means your Gmail has been successfully created, and this is your inbox. Now Gmail would redirect you to your inbox, and in this screen you will be able to see the different options available with Gmail while using an email. You can see all the emails that you have. This is the kind of dashboard that you have on your any of your website. So because this is our first login, Gmail would welcome us and would help us to understand the user interface, would show us some guidelines, how do we have to use the emails, how can we access different parts of the user interface. We can, if we have if we are using it for the first time, it is suggested to go to each of the tab and understand what Google is trying to teach us, and it would help us in using an email in future. Now this is the dashboard as I was talking about. This is the email that you have received. This is the first email that you have received. This is the email from Google itself. And then on the left panel you can see the different options available under this email. The first option that says compose, this is to create a new email message. Then we have inbox. This is where all our emails would be received. Then this is starred. We will have some emails that we have marked as important, or we have to refer to them easily. We can mark them as star. This is the option here to mark an email as star. If we mark it as an star, then it will be available under this particular option also. But if we do not, those emails would not be available. So if we have so much of emails in our email account and we only want to refer to some of the important emails, we can always mark them as a star and then go back under the starred list to access them directly in this particular panel. Then the important options I would talk about, it is sent, where we'll have all the emails that we have sent, and drafts would have the emails that we have created, we have written, but we have not sent yet. So this is the kind of the dashboard it looks under Gmail, and more or less it would be similar if you are using any other email client also. So now we have seen about creating a Gmail account. Now we will talk about the elements of an email body. In an email body, we will have to and from addresses. We will have subject line. We will start with the greetings. we'll enter the complete content of the email, which is called body, and then closing. So let's go back to the Gmail again and let's see how do we create a new email, how do we compose a new email. So let's click on compose. A new option, a new pop-up tab will be opened wherein you can enter. This way you can enlarge it and you can see what easily is available on the screen. Now you have to mention the email address that you are going to send an email to. For example, we can enter our own email address that we have just created, and let's see whether we receive this email or not. In the subject, I will say hello dear user. Now we have to start it. Now subject line is really important. This is just a test email that we are going to send. Subject would be, as you can see in this previous email that we have just received from Google, it says the subject is test, welcome to your new Google account. So we can, even before opening this email, we can understand what would be the content of this email and why this user has sent us an email. So we can understand that this is somebody from Google, as you know it is mentioned in the from field. This is Andy from Google and the subject line is this. So it is really important to mention a good subject line for the recipient to understand what your email is all about. And then you have to start with a greeting. For example, if you are writing this to a friend, you can write hi or hello. If you are writing to some other person, you can start with a salutation, for example, dear sir or respected sir. It depends on the type of email that you are creating, whether professional or personal. Let's say I am writing to my friend and I just have to tell them that I have created a new email ID. Let's say, hello friend, this is my new email address. Thanks. Now this is closing an email. We have to always end it with a signature. We have to mention from whom this email is. We have to mention, and while mentioning our name, we would put a salutation again, like we would say thanks or we would say regards, anything that we would like to end this email with. So thanks and then my name. So this is the content of an email. Then depending on the service provider, you will see somewhere this send button would be available, and as soon as you send this email, the user would receive this email. We have sent this email to ourselves, so see in the inbox also this email is available. Had it been sent to somebody else, we would not be able to see it in the inbox. It would have been only available in the sent items. So now because we have sent it to our own email address, it is available both in the inbox and the sent items. This is how the email would look in the sent items. And if we go back to the inbox, you will see that here the name is mentioned. As of now, we have not sent it to anybody else. It only says me. Google would recognize your own email address and it would not mention your name. It would not mention test user. If you will send this email to somebody else, then your name would be shown here. Otherwise, if you have sent it to yourself, then it says me. And then the subject would be available here. So it is always advised to use a good subject line that has the description of what the content is going to be. Now, these are the topics that we have covered in the email body. We have seen that we have to mention the to and from email address. If we are using the from email address, if the name is there, if we have mentioned the right name in the account, it will be shown in the inbox of the recipient. And then a good subject line, greeting should be there when we start the email body and closing. Now sending and receiving emails. As you have seen, we have just created a email which was a very short email, and then we have mentioned all the required fields and then we have sent it. The parts of sending and receiving emails are like, first we create a draft. For example, if we write this email and then we do not have to send it right away. We have created a long email where, suppose I am planning an occasion and I want a get together between all the friends, and I have to send this email to, let's say, 10 of my friends. So I have drafted a good email, a long email, in which I have given the description of all the events that I am planning in that particular occasion. So I have mentioned, hello dear friend, I am going to organize this particular event on this date, and you are invited to attend this event, and these would be the all of the schedule of the event, that we will be starting with this and that. Now before sending this email, I might have a thought that let me first ask all of my friends if they are available on this particular date or not, and if they are available, only then I will decide that I am going to do this event on this particular date. Otherwise I can do this on some other date also. So but I don't want to rewrite this email again after I decide the email. I have already composed a long email, so I can keep this email in draft. I can save it as a draft, as I have shown you the drafts folder under Gmail. So it will be saved there, and you will be able to access it anytime in future, that when you want to. You can come back, edit the draft again, put a new date, and then you can send the email to your friends. On our Gmail interface, this is the draft option that I have just talked about. And when we create a new email and we save it for later use, for example, I have not put the recipient address, and I have said that test mail save. So this is automatically saved, as you can see here, saved. If we do not send this email, this would be automatically saved in the drafts folder, and we can go back to the drafts to access this particular email. Now while sending an email, we have different options also. The most commonly used option is to attach files. This is required when we have to send files to somebody who we are sending the email to. We can simply click on the attach files option. It will open the folder, the directory folder on the desktop for us to go to the file and attach it. Let's say I have chosen this file, my file, to send. Now this file I have just created as a blank file. Now Google will identify that this file is of 0 bytes and we are not allowed to send this email. So we will write some text in this particular file and save it. And then we will try to attach this as an attachment of my Gmail. Let's say attach and then go to my file. Now Google will attach it in this particular manner. You can see that this file that you are trying to send is attached with this email. Now when the user will receive it, now let's send this email again to ourselves, and let's mention the subject line as test the attachment, and then send it. Now let's see whether we have received it in the inbox or not. So we have received this email that says test the attachment, and when we open it, we see that myfile.docs is attached here. Here I would like to mention that you should be really aware of opening the attachments on the internet. If you have received an email from somebody you don't know, and this email looks suspicious, you should never ever open an attachment, because in this digital world we have seen that so many crimes are done over the internet, and it is not always safe to open these attachments. These attachments might steal your information from the internet or from your computer as well. So you have to take care while opening an attachment from unknown sources and be safe and secure on the internet. Then email deliverability. So sometimes we might enter a username where the email ID might not exist. For example, the email ID that we have just created is testuser90987. By mistake, if I had put 90986 there, so this email, if that is not existing with Google, Google will let us know when we will send this email, it will let us know whether your email has been delivered or not. So the update will be you will receive an incoming email which will tell you that your email was not successfully delivered. If it is successfully delivered, you will not receive any update or anything from Google. But if it is not delivered and if there was some problem with the deliverability, you will be receiving an incoming mail from Google that your email was not successfully delivered. Then read receipts. Sometimes there is an option in the email clients that we are using. If we are accessing our email account, we can access this Gmail account on Gmail itself, or we can configure it on Outlook or some other email client that we are good at, we are used to using that particular email client. We can configure that account there. So depending on the email client that we are using, we can mention an option to for the user to send us a read receipt. So when the user opens their email, when they click on their email that they have just received, they will receive a pop-up to send us the reply with the read receipt that will let us know that they have already read this particular email. Then auto replies. Sometimes we are going out, we are going for a trip or something like that, and we would not be able to access our email, and we would like the users who have sent us an email to know that we are not available. Or maybe sometimes it happens that when somebody is writing an email to us, I would like to acknowledge that okay, I have received your email but I have not read it yet. I will respond you when I will read it. So those are the auto replies. So we can configure them. Even those are available with Gmail also. We can configure them, and as soon as we receive an email, Google will automatically reply to the sender whatever message that we have written previously. We have already configured that this is the message that we want to convey in the auto replies, and we can also choose when to reply automatically and when not, or maybe who to reply automatically and to whom not. So those all things are configurable, and we can always configure them in the email client that is available that we are using. Then let's talk about the email etiquettes. It is always suggested to use proper etiquettes when you are writing an email. Now email is again a method of communication. When you communicate with somebody, you have to take care of all the things, that you are not being rude to somebody, or when you initially when you meet somebody a new day, or when you meet somebody for the first time, you introduce yourself, and when you meet them again, you greet them with a message. You say hi, hello, or something like that. And then if you are meeting somebody for the first time, then you kind of introduce that why are you meeting them, the objective of the meeting is discussed, and then the whole meeting goes on. So when you talk to somebody, you take care of all these things. Similarly, when you are sending an email to somebody, you have to take care of all these things. This is also a method of communication. So the most commonly used etiquettes that you have to take care of are like you have to use the proper format. Format is that as I told you, first of all we have greeted them, then we have written the content. If in the content, suppose I am going to share some calculations or some tables or some data that is required to be read in that particular format, if that would be distributed here and there, it would look like a mess and it would not look good. Or suppose if you start with thanks and regards, you initially say thanks and regard, my name is test user and I want to say this, and then in the end you say hello dear friend. So that is not an email structure, that doesn't look good at all. So you have to follow the proper format. Then the subject lines, as I have already focused and mentioned that subject line is really important for the recipient to understand what this email is all about. So sometimes when the recipient is having a lot of email messages, they might or might not open your email at all. It totally depends on the subject line that you have used, whether the recipient is going to open it or not. Then the salutation punctuation. So salutation must be proper. It should be in context to your email, whether it is professional or personal. If you are using a personal email, you can greet your friend differently, but if you are using a professional email, if you are writing a email to your colleague or your senior, your boss, anybody, or maybe your juniors also, but if that is a professional email, you have to salute them accordingly, you have to use the proper signature also. Then the email tone. Email tone is that the language that you are using to write this particular email. So your language, as advised in the general communication also, that you should not use a rude language. Your sentences that you make should not look improper, those should not be seem hurting to somebody. So similarly, when you write an email, other than being rude, there are some other tones also, like if you want to request somebody for something, so your email structure, your content would be easily depreciating that this particular email is to request something. You are writing a particular request. If you are ordering somebody to do something, if you know assigning some task, then there would be different email tone. So depending on your subject, depending on your objective that you have while sending this email, your email tone should be accordingly adjusted. Then the sign-offs. Sign-offs is the signature that you mention at the end of the email. Some of the clients like Gmail would also allow us to store a signature. Suppose if we have a long signature, if we have a practice of writing thanks and regards, Rashmi Narula, then my mobile number, then my address, and my address is like 5-6 lines long, and then my professional email ID, and then the website address, and all these things if I want to mention in my particular signature. Sometimes I might feel it a little, difficulty to enter all these things again and again. It would be tiring for me. Sometimes I would not like it to enter it again and again. So many of the email providers provide us an option to create a signature and save it with a particular name. So I can save a signature, let's say professional signature, and then I have a personal signature wherein I just want to write take care Rashmi. This is the unprofessional, the formal signature that I use for the emails that I write to my friends. So I will save it, or I have an option not to save it, but if I want to save this signature, then I can save it with a different name, or I can save a professional signature, which is the complete long signature with a different name. And then when I write a new email, I can always go back and choose the signature that I want to insert in this particular email that I have just created. So that is all for the day. We will just go through what we have already discussed. We have discussed about what an email address is, how it is helpful for us to identify, for other people to identify us on the internet, and how easy it is for us to send and receive emails over having an email address. Then we have also seen how to create an email address. We have talked about the different elements of an email body. We have also seen how to send and receive emails, and then we have talked about the email etiquettes that we have to use while creating an email. That's all for the day. Thank you so much.